Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 24, entitled Worshipping Govardhan Hill, Text 19. Ajivyaikataram bhavam yastvanyam upajivati na tasmat vindate kshemam jarannarya sati yatha. Ajivya, sustaining his life. Ekataram, one. Bhavam, entity. Yaha, who. Tu, but. Anyam, another. Upajivati, resorts to. Na, not. Tasmat, from that one. Vindate, gains. Kshemam, real benefit. Jarat, from a paramour. Nari, a woman. Asati, who is unchaste. Yatha, as. Translation. If one thing is actually sustaining our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? We would be like an unfaithful woman who can never achieve any actual benefit by consulting with her paramour. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti-yoga Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The word kshemam means actual prosperity, not merely the accumulation of money. Here Lord Krishna boldly argues that just as a woman can never achieve actual dignity or enlightenment from an illicit lover, the residents of Vrindavan will never be happy by neglecting the real source of their prosperity and worship Indra instead. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the audacity that child Krishna displayed before his father and other elders should be understood as an exhibition of transcendental anger aroused when he saw his eternal devotees worshipping an insignificant demigod. Translation again. If one thing is actually sustaining our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? We would be like an unfaithful woman who can never achieve any actual benefit by consulting with her paramour. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we continue our discussion on how Lord Krishna tried to persuade his father and other elders in Vrindavan not to worship great demigod Indra and instead worship Govardhan Hill. And it's interesting that just before this incident, Krishna was blessing the wives of these yogic brahmanas. Once he went with the boys in the forest, and he then explained how even the trees who can give us shelter and shade in the summer heat, and fruits when one is hungry, and are much higher than even brahmanas that they don't live for the benefit of others. And then he demonstrated this because the boys said that they're hungry, and he sent them to beg food from the yogic brahmanas. And they didn't receive anything from them. And at that time he explained that one should devote his life, his wealth, his everything, his intelligence, just for the benefit of others. So here is important, then it is explained in the beginning of this chapter that after he blessed these wives of yogic brahmanas, then also these brahmanas themselves realized, yes, this was Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, and we denied food when he was begging for food from us. So we should take our wife as our gurus. But it's interesting that they were afraid to go to Vrindavan to meet with Krishna, because they were afraid of Kamsa. Yes, they were afraid of Kamsa. But Krishna nevertheless wanted to give them his full mercy. So it is explained in the beginning of this chapter that he stayed there in the vicinity of this village of the yogic brahmanas, and then happened that this elderly cowherd man wanted to perform this yagya for Indra with the help of these yagya brahmanas. So then Lord Krishna tried to persuade Maharaj Nanda, his father, and other cowherd man, elderly man, to worship Govardhan Hill, as we explained. And he used karma mimamsa philosophy to substantiate his point. And as we explained yesterday, Krishna with one move achieves many goals at the same time. So with this karma mimamsa philosophy, he also preaches the topmost Bhagavata-dharma, we can say. So it is interesting how Krishna can act like Mohini Murti, and to give poison to the demons and nectar to his devotees. So, and we explained yesterday how this karma mimamsa philosophy can be explained as pure devotional service also. And in this verse, it's even more obvious, his philosophy. If one thing is actually sustaining our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? So, and from Shastra, we know that only Krishna is sustaining us. And nothing else. And same point is confirmed in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says, Mogasha moga karmani moga jnana vikarmasha. Mogasha moga karmano moga jnana vibhagasha. Mogasha moga karmani moga jnana vibhagasha. I forgot. It's strange. Mogasha moga karmano moga jnana vichetasa rakshasi masurim cheva prakriti mohanim shita. Yes. Moga jnana vichetasa rakshasi masurim cheva prakriti mohanim shita. That it is explained there, Mogasha moga karmani, that all our hopes are in vain if we don't take shelter of Krishna. Moga ashaha, our hopes are in vain. And all our endeavors, all our work is in vain. All our jnana or our knowledge is in vain. Everything is in vain if we don't surrender to Krishna. As it explains here, how can we achieve any real benefit if we take shelter of something else? So if we take shelter of someone who is not supreme, everything will be destroyed by the due course of time. Yeah. And in 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna explains that those who take shelter of something else, they're alpa medasa, they're of little intelligence. Yes. And everything they achieve is just temporary. Just temporary. Yeah. And it's interesting that he says, Rakshasim asurim jeva, that they take shelter of Rakshasas and Asuras. Prakriti mohinim shita, because they are of nature of Asuras and Rakshasas, because they take shelter of Prakriti mohinim, of illusory energy. Yeah. Yes. So he uses quite strong words, as Asuras and Rakshasas. And it's really important to understand this is not exaggeration on the part of Krishna. Krishna is absolute truth. Whatever he says is absolute reality. It's not something, some exaggeration on his part to substantiate his points. But why? Who is Rakshasa?
Demon. Who is not. He wants put out Krishna out of his, life.
Okay.
And, he's not. With many explanations. He wants to enjoy senses.
Cannibals, yes.
Oh,
And
you mean like that? Okay.
Rakshasas, yes. Cannibals, yes. They like to drink blood. Yes. These are Rakshasas. But how can Krishna say that all the people that they don't devote themselves to Krishna are Rakshasas? One who may say that he's a fanatic. Isn't it? What do you think?
I think maybe because they don't use their bodies properly and they're killing themselves. Maybe.
Yes, this one explanation can be, yes. They're Pashugnat, they're killing animals or they're killing their own souls, yes. But other explanation is, as soon as one is not a devotee, he tries to exploit everything else for his purpose. And this exploitation, we can say it's a blood-sucking mentality. And we can see everything in this world is just mutual exploitation, actually. Even the relationship between husbands and wives, and children and parents, and teachers and students. These are all mutual exploitation relationships if they're not devotee relationships, devotional relationships. Yes. Because, and in Kali Yuga, it's even more obvious. They now even have this premarital contracts. And what is contract? Contract is sheer business deal, isn't it? Yes. And in business deal, why would one make business? to get something, to get some profit, isn't it?
For his enjoyment.
Yes, for different purposes, ultimately for the enjoyment, yes, because we all want to be happy, and enjoyment, we translate enjoyment as happiness. So, we want to get profit, as you said, from business deal, isn't it? So, when we make a business and sign a contract with someone, it's actually with this idea, I will put little less than I will get in return. Isn't it like this? So I will get little profit back. But then when business deal is settled, and if I get the feeling that I give little more than I get in return, that my business doesn't bring me profit, but I even lose something in this deal, then I want to break this deal as soon as possible. And we see this relationship, mundane relationship, are like this. And even many devotees, they divorce and so on, only because of this mentality. Only because of this mutual exploitation mentality and nothing else. Yes. Because they think, yes, I don't get what I wanted. Before I got married, I had these different plans. How will I enjoy? What pleasure I can get from this. But this is blood-sucking mentality. So, as long as we don't devote ourselves to Krishna, really, and are willing to sacrifice for Krishna's pleasure, we keep this blood-sucking mentality, this Rakshasa mentality, and Asura mentality. Yes. And Krishna explains in the next verse the different type of consciousness. Mahatmanas tumam parta devim prakriti mashita bhajantya nanya manasu gyatva bhutadimavaya. That on the other side, on one side we have Rakshasas and Asuras. On the other side we have Mahatmas, great souls. And Rakshasas and Asuras take shelter of Prakriti Mohinim, of illusory energy. And Mahatmas, they take shelter of Devim Prakritim, Ashrita, of spiritual energy, of Lord Krishna's personal energy. That means Srimati Radharani. So, we should become Mahatmas, not Duratmas. Duratma is one whose heart is turned away from Krishna. And Mahatma is the one who gives his heart to Krishna. So we should be Mahatmas, not Duratmas, and devote ourselves to Krishna. Because when we take shelter of something else than what is actually sustaining our life, we cannot achieve any real benefit. As explained by Krishna himself here in this verse. And in other scriptures, as we just proved, is the same. And he used the analogy of an unfaithful woman who can never achieve any actual benefit by consorting with her paramour. And this idea of woman's chastity is so much stressed throughout our scriptures, because this is extremely important, woman's chastity, to establish any proper society. Actually, if there is, if women are not chaste, this was also one of Arjuna's arguments in the first chapter of Bhagavata-gita, then the whole society becomes sinful. And it's important to know that a mother or a wife in this case is a first guru in society. If a child drinks the holy name with his or her mother's milk, then nothing can dissuade him from Krishna consciousness, because this goes extremely deep in child's heart, this Krishna consciousness with mother's milk, and it's much more, it's much deeper and profound than just understanding on intellectual platform. I believe we all came later on in Krishna consciousness because we were convinced of the most elevated philosophy and most elevated relationship with Supreme that we can achieve through Krishna consciousness. But this is all intellectual understanding. So we are fortunate, at least, that we could understand intellectually that Krishna consciousness is the utmost goal in our life. But if the child gets this opportunity to drink Krishna consciousness with his mother milk, then nothing can be higher than this. So mothers are first gurus of societies, of society, and if women and wives are unchaste, then the whole society is destroyed. Actually, a spiritual opportunity to imbibe Krishna consciousness with all our heart is lost. Even if we intellectually understand, it never goes as deep as if we can receive this by mother's milk. Yes, that's so important, women's chastity. And it is explained by different examples in Shastra, this women's chastity. But before we'll take one example, is another incident of this comparison with unfaithful woman. It's used by Shukadeva Goswami in 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, describing the nature of the mind. and he says, Nityam dadati kamasya chidram tanami iraha yogina kripa metrasya chidram tam yanu iraha yogina kripa metrasya patyurjaiva pumshali. He says, Jai Shishi Nitai Gora Chandra ki Jai. He says that Nityam dadati kamasya, that the mind gives rise to lust always. So, yes, Nityam dadati kamasya. Dadati means to give. What's the word to give in Slovak? Dati. Yes, this is the same word. Dadati or dati. In Slovenian also the same. Yes. The same word as in Sanskrit. Nityam. Nityam is always. Nityam dadati kamasya. So the mind will always give us rise to lust. Why?
Very good.
Because it's a material. It's a material element. Mind is one of the material elements, and it is designed for this purpose of sustaining our existence. Everything is designed in material world to sustain our existence. This is the purpose of body, of intelligence, of mind, of everything in matter, because it has some purpose to exist. in material world also. And if we take to Krishna consciousness, it's beneficial to exist. That we can develop Krishna consciousness. So mind is created for sustaining our material existence. So lust doesn't mean only sexual pleasure. Of course, sexual pleasure is considered one of the highest pleasures in this material world, but there are also other pleasures. Kama means basically bodily pleasure. For example, pleasure of food is also kama. Pleasure of touch and of eyesight, of hearing something. Everything is kama if it's for our pleasure. Yes. So, nityam dadati kamasya. Mind gives always rise to lust. And therefore lust is considered to be our worst enemy, as explained by Krishna in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-gita. Yes, because Arjuna asked Krishna how it is that one can perform sinful activities even against his own will. And Krishna answers, Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhava mahashano mahapapma vidnanam iha vairinam. That this is vairinam, the most sinful, deadly enemy of the soul is lust. And Shukadeva Goswami in this 5th canto explains that if yogi or spiritual personality, one who tries to be elevated in spiritual consciousness, trusts the mind, he's like a foolish husband who put his trust in a prostitute wife, unchaste wife. Yes. And Prabhupada translates, he expands a little bit translation, not exactly by the words of Shukadeva Goswami, but he adds something. He says that this kind of husband will be killed by the paramours of such a wife. And that means that if we trust our mind, because mind is attracted to material things, not to Krishna, by its natural propensity, then we will be killed by material nature again and again and again. Yes. So we should know how important it is, and how important is this chastity. So we shouldn't trust those who are unchaste. For example, the mind which is the real enemy of the soul, and is never chaste. It's never chaste if it's not controlled. Therefore, is compared also to the wild beast, ferocious beast. And if the hunter is not on guard even for a moment, can be destroyed by this animal. So we should be on guard, because we are married to unfaithful woman, to this mind. And, so we should always keep this unchaste wife of the mind under control, under strict control. And even modern scientists, psychologists explain, if the mind goes for something unwanted, for something, this is in connection with different addictions, and people are addicted to so many things, even so-called healthy people are addicted to so many things. So with this addiction, they explain that if mind goes towards its addiction. And if we allow for more than 5 seconds that mind dwells on these things, we are defeated by the mind. Then we have no power to resist, according to modern science of psychology. So we can take this advice of modern psychologists, and if we perceive that mind goes in the wrong direction, that we immediately take it away. Don't allow the mind to dwell on these things, because it's explained also by Krishna in the second chapter of Bhagavata-gita. Dhyayato vishayam pumsa sangasteshu pujayate sangat sanjayate kamat krodha vijayate. Yes. So if we think of something, we will develop attachment to these things. And attachments give rise to karma again. Yes. So yes, we should be very, very careful about letting unchaste wife of our mind to dwell on material pleasures. And it's interesting, a story of Anasuya from scriptures, who was wife of sage Atri. And she was famous by her chastity. So much so that these wives of the three major gods, we can say, wanted to test her. Lakshmi, Durga, and Saraswati from Brahma. They wanted to test her chastity, how really chaste she is. And they sent their husbands of Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva to test her as beggars. Anasuya and Atri Muni, they lived in forest and performed many austere tapasyas together many times. And so they were completely dedicated to proper conduct and so on. And so these wives, they said to their husbands, go like beggars, because if beggar comes on the door, we should, of course, accept them as Vishnu. Atiti, uninvited guest, is always considered as Vishnu himself. So we should treat uninvited guests as Vishnu, according to Vedic custom and to our Shastra. And these wives said to their husbands, that your demand, how Anasuya should serve you, should be that she would serve you naked, without any clothes on. So we will see how she can preserve her chastity and serve the guests properly and be faithful to her husband at the same time. So they went to her as in the guise of the beggars. And of course, she was alone at the time, and she wanted to treat her guests properly. And they had this strange request that that she has to serve them naked without any clothes on. And then she was taken aback by this request, because it's a strange request and audacious request actually. But she could understand by her spiritual powers that these are not ordinary beggars. and there are some celestials. They must be some celestials. So, by the power of her chastity, she turned them into small infants, into babies. And then she served them naked. Because if you serve little children, very small babies, naked, they don't perceive anything. And the chastity to the husband is not broken by serving infants naked. So they accepted her service and glorified actually her chastity, and they asked her for a boon, that she should ask them for a boon. Then later on they showed their proper forms, and they asked her for a boon, and she asked them to become her sons. And Vishnu became Dattatreya, and Shiva became Durvasa Muni as her son. And I forgot what Brahma became. Do you know what Brahma became? I have to check. No. Some other personality. So Brahma became some other personality. Sorry to forget this, but yes, the point is that wife chastity is extremely important, and it's interesting that it is explained in Shastra that wife should always be faithful to her husband, even if husband is old, obnoxious, bad-tempered, easily irritable. This becomes angry very quickly. So wife should keep her chastity all the time, but not if the husband is fallen. Fallen. If he's not keeping his spiritual vows. Fallen. Yes, if he falls down. Yes, if the husband is fallen, then her duty is to leave such a husband. And it's explained by acharyas that if she doesn't, such fallen husband will be the cause of her fall down also. Yes. So it's important to not to be fallen for a husband. Yes, because we have to. We are responsible for our dependence, and wife is of course counted as a dependent on husband. Yes. So Krishna here explained to his father and other elders of Vrindavan that we shouldn't be like unchaste women and worship Indra instead of those things that actually sustaining our life. And he showed that we should worship Govardhan hill, because by worshipping by Govardhan we are sustained. And he showed them that actually himself is Govardhan hill. So he showed them that actually everyone should worship me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And those who are envious of the Lord, and demons and Rakshasas, as we explained, they have difficult time to digest this idea that Krishna is explaining, worship me. As manmana bhava mat bhakto madhyajimam namaskuru mame vaishasi yukjaivam atmanam matparayana. That just think of me, worship me, offer homage unto me. And they think Krishna is such egocentric personality. Yes, just me, I. Yes, but this is because they perceive Krishna through their glasses. Yes, through their understanding of themselves, because they want everything for themselves. They think Krishna is the same. Yes. So yes, this is the message of this chapter, and of this preaching of even karma mimamsa philosophy, to dissuade ourselves to worship anyone except the Lord Himself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So Prabhupada came to the West to give us this understanding. And as bare minimum, he said to chant at least 16 rounds. When he first initiated devotees, he said that they should chant 64 rounds. And they were taken aback. That, how, Prabhupada? We cannot do this. Not possible for us. We cannot chant 64 rounds. Then he said, okay, you should chant 32 rounds. And they still considered it's impossible for them to chant 32 rounds every day. And Prabhupada consented, and he said, okay, 16 rounds minimum, without offense. Yes, 16 rounds minimum. And we know what is minimum. Minimum is just to sustain our life. And those people in concentration camps, they were sustained on bare minimum, that they could survive. So we should know that we should strive to get to full nourishment, as Prabhupada mentioned in the beginning. To chant more and more and more, not to remain on bare minimum. Yes, we may survive somehow or other, but we can be very anorectic if you just sustain with bare minimum all the spiritually skeletons. Yes, so
Like Hiranyakashipu is also sustaining his minimum, and just the skeleton.
skeleton remain.
Soul was inside.
Yes, this life force was circulating in his skeleton.
That's minimum.
That's minimum. Yes. Yes. So yes, Prabhupada knew that if someone is in diseased condition, he has to fast first. So this minimum sadhana he prescribed for diseased people. So, but by taking cure regularly, we can get cured, and then we should take proper nourishment, not remain on a diseased diet. So by gradually improving in our life, we should go deeper and deeper and deeper, and we take more and more spiritual nourishment in our life. Hare Krishna. Is there any question or comment?
I heard also about this chanting that in this time devotees doing like full-time service whole day, some harinam or in deity worship in temple, and they don't have so much time for chanting. So Prabhupada said only 16 rounds, but Amarendra Prabhu explained that So he said that if you are engaged in full-time in service, okay, you can chant this minimum. But if you are not, so you must chant more, because you have time, you don't do any like service, so you're chanting more.
Yes, actually, chanting is service. It's interesting that there was one devotee who chanted all day long, actually, in the temple. And then devotees complained to Prabhupada. This devotee is just chanting, doesn't perform any service. And he asked them if this devotee is sleeping during his chanting. And they said no, that he really chants. Then he said it's okay. Then if he chants, it's okay.
There was one story also from Bhakti-yoga Maharaj. He write a request to newspaper. We need devotee to our mat. He will only chant. And one boy just come and say, I read this article and I want join. I want do this service. And he only chanting whole day, and these other devotees also complained to Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. He only chanting. And he said, if you develop taste for holy name like him, you can chant also, but otherwise you only can like cleaning and sweeping the floor and so on. It was Akinchana Das Babaji.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, it's important to understand that chanting is not wasting our time. Because many times I've heard even devotees have this mentality, I have to finish my rounds that I can get to my real business in life. To attend to my duties. But actually we should know that chanting the holy name is one of the foremost duty, especially in Kali Yuga. There is no other way than chanting of the holy name. Even other duties should be performed along with chanting of the holy name. Yes. It is explained by Jiva Goswami that if other duties, other services, even devotional services, if they're not accompanied by chanting of the holy name, they're not properly performed. So in Kali Yuga, everything should be accompanied with chanting. Yes. Hare Krishna. Anything else?
You mentioned mind, but also that I get a feeling that you are not feeling. I'm convinced that you were speaking about material mind, because on a spiritual platform we have also spiritual. We have mind, which is spiritual. So you gave examples of material mind.
Yes.
The spiritual mind is completely different nature. Always thinking of Krishna.
Yes. This spiritual mind is not different than ourselves.
Yeah.
It's function of a soul, actually. Yes, and its natural function is to sustain our existence. And if it's spiritual mind, then its function is to sustain our spiritual existence, and therefore engages in devotional service all the time, thinking of Krishna all the time. Jai Shri Nitya Gaur Chandra ki Jai Nitya Gaur Pramanandi.
Another thing about controlling mind, I was thinking that actually we are not able, although there is a verse, Vachavegam, Manasakrodavegam, but can help us by giving us devotional service. So how we are actually controlling our mind, that we are always chanting, always performing devotional service. And only in that way we can control our mind, otherwise we cannot. It's not possible. Like, okay, let me control my mind, but how?
Yes, it's impossible. Only by devotional service. Yes. It's impossible by artificial means. And this was the argument of Arjuna in 6th chapter. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridam. Tasyaham nigraham mani vayorivas sudushkaram. He says it's more powerful than wind. So I think it's impossible to control the mind. But Krishna didn't agree with him, actually. He says, Asamshayam mahabaho. Asamshayam means without doubt. And mahabaho, you're a powerful personality, so you can do it. Asamshayam mahabaho, manodur nigraham chalam. Mind is very powerful, and chanchalam is unstable. Abhyasana tu kauntaya, vairagrena chigrihati. But with abhyasa, with constant practice, and with detachment, we can control the mind. And he says, later, the next verse, Asamyatatmana yugo dushprapamiti mimati. Vishyatmana toyatata shakyo vaptumapayata. That if one who tries to go deeper in spiritual life, if he fails to control the mind, he cannot achieve anything. And it's interesting that this abhyasa yoga is emphasized by Krishna in many different places in Bhagavad-gita. For example, in 12th chapter, which discusses bhakti-yoga, Krishna recommends Mayeva mana adatsva mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mayeva atarudvama samshaya. That devote your mind to me. Mayeva mana means mind. Mayi eva, certainly only to me. Mayeva mana adatsva mayi buddhim niveshaya. And by your intelligence dwell only in me. Nivasishyasi mayeva. And thus you will live in me only, certainly. And undoubtedly you will achieve me. But in the next verse he says, because it's impossible usually for materially conditioned people to be in such a samadhi all the time. He says, Atachitam samadatum nashaknoshi mayistiram. So if you cannot devote yourself to such a samadhi all the time, abhyasa yogena tato mamichaptam dhananjaya. So devote yourself to abhyasa yoga, to sadhana bhakti, basically, and you will develop desire to attain me. So it's so important to devote ourselves to strict sadhana, because this is abhyasa, and this is the only means, as you yourself said, to seek Krishna's help. And sadhana, in the stage of sadhana bhakti, is the only connection with Krishna. We have no other connection with Krishna than through sadhana. From chanting the holy name, hearing the scriptures, reading the scriptures, services performed for the pleasure of the Lord, of course to deities, for the pleasure of the devotees, and other services under the direction of our spiritual master. Yes, this is abhyasa, and we should be engaged in such services all the time if possible. Then we are always under protection, because it's not in our power. Krishna himself says in 7th chapter, Devi guna mayi mama maya duratyaya. Mama maya is duratyaya. It's unconquerable. It's extremely powerful. Mam eva ye prapadyanti. If you surrender only to me, eva, certainly, without doubt, mayam etantarantiti. You can go beyond this maya, not otherwise.
Yeah, and also that, like you mentioned, that by proper process and detachment you can come.
Yes.
But what is proper process and what is detachment? How you can be detached? Only when you are doing so. You are doing service, so automatically you will be detached. Because param drishtani vartate.
Yes.
So what is proper process? Proper process is to surrender to Krishna. So without Krishna we cannot control. Although it is stated that, by proper process, by detachment.
Exactly.
How
Exactly.
can we achieve that detachment? It's not possible.
Yes, not possible. Not possible. Only Krishna can give us attachment to Him, because we are Tatashta Shakti. We have to finish, but just to finish my thought, we are Tatashta Shakti. That by definition, by our nature, we are not independent. We are either attached to matter or attached to Krishna. So we cannot live detached from everything. It's not possible, because it's not our constitutional position. Because by constitutional position we are Tatashta Shakti. That means always dependent on some higher authority, some higher power. Yes. So yes, and Krishna explains also, as we just explained, Mam eva ye prapadanti. If you surrender to me, then you can go beyond Maya. If not, we'll never go beyond Maya. So to get this attachment to Krishna is abhyasa, it's practice, it's service, as you explained, seva. By seva we get higher taste. By chanting more, we get taste for more chanting. Prabhupada was asked, why you're chanting all the time? That we can chant more. Yes, this was his answer. What do you want to achieve by this chanting so much? To chant more. Yes. To get taste, to chant more. Yes. Exactly. So, thank you very much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Pramanandi Hari. Please accept my humble obeisance.